A very good afternoon to our revered guest speaker, Professor Narasimhan Balasubramaniam, faculty delegates from different colleges, and my fellow colleagues. I welcome you all on day 9 of the AICT sponsored 2-week online faculty development program on exploration of nascent pedagogical tools for updating teachers of pharmacy education. Yesterday, we had a wonderful session by Professor Munish Ahuja and Dr. Mandeep Arora. Munish sir acquainted us with the various online softwares available for plagiarism and references, which we all can now apply during academic writing. Dr. Mandeep Arora, along with her colleague Dr. Payal, apprised us of the alternatives to animal studies in biomedical research. So today we have with us Professor Narasimhan Balasubramaniam. He is the head and dean in the Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences, Maharishi Dayanand University, Rohtak. Sir will be conducting today two technical sessions. The first on computer aided drug design, followed by a demonstration and training on CAD software. So we welcome you, sir, and greetings from Lloyd. I would first like to introduce sir. With more than 18 years of teaching experience, Professor Narasimhan has worked as Head and Dean, Faculty of Pharmaceutical Sciences, MD University Rohtak, and currently officiates as Director IQAC. His key areas in research include synthesis, QSAR, anti-cancer, and antimicrobial screening of medicinal compounds. He has more than 166 peer reviewed publications in reputed SCI journals with more than 4009 citations and an H index of 33. He is a recipient of APTI Best Pharmaceutical Scientist Award 2015 and APP Young Pharmaceutical Scientist Award 2015. Recently, a team of scientists at Stanford University, Stanford, California, prepared a global database of top 2% scientists, where he stands the top in MD University, Rohtak. So, welcome, sir, and over to you now.
Good afternoon to everybody.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
So, I think so. First, we will discuss the theoretical part. I think so. I can share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, for presentation.
Yes, sir.
Then followed by we can go for the technical or your practical software utility.
Ji.
Okay, so today we'll have some brief discussion on the computer-aided drug design. Then followed by we'll discuss the utility of some softwares that are openly available for that you can use it for computer-aided drug design. So when you are seeing the computer-aided drug design, it is one of the recently developed techniques. Somewhere around after 60s, it has been started QSAR studies, and I think so you can see around 50 to 60 years old field. And this computer-aided drug design, the main objective of your computer-aided drug design, that is to design the drug without a need to synthesize them. Okay, so when you are going for traditional discovery, we used to go for synthesize the drug, and we will identify the lead compound and we will optimize the lead compound, right? Then we will synthesize many derivatives and we will go for animal studies and clinical trials, and finally we'll come to know this particular compound is active. So when you are seeing this traditional style of your drug discovery process, right? So it takes long time. Okay, so when you are seeing, if you are seeing the pharmaceutical industry point of view, so what is their what you can say objective of your pharmaceutical industries? That is, they want to develop and market new chemical entities, or you can say new drug molecules, right? Because you have the competition from the people, so they want that it should be what you can say it should be a new drug so that they can get the profit, right? So when you are discovering a new drug, either you will discover the new drug for a, for example, COVID-19, you can discover it for COVID-19 or already existing disorders you can develop, right? So two purpose you can see, that is to develop the drug for uh, drug for your untreatable diseases like your cancer, AIDS, where you can say that is your limit possibility of survival, or you can say that is existing drugs, they have some unwanted properties. So you want to develop superior or better drug than the existing drug. So when you are going for this particular drug discovery, so basically we'll go for number of drug discovery technique, or in commonly we can design into two category. One is the traditional drug discovery. Traditional discovery, what we will do first, we will generate a lead compound, right? After developing the lead compound, we will go for test the lead compound, and if we are getting an active molecule, then we will synthesize the number of compounds, and again we will test for biological testing. This process will be repeated. That is the process of your, what you can say, process of your biological testing and so this process, biological testing and the synthesis of new compound, this procedure we will keep on repeating unless if you are getting a promising molecule. If it is a promising molecule, if you are getting, then we'll go for preclinical studies, then finally we'll go for the marketing of the drug. So average period for the discovery of a molecule by your traditional drug design, it takes around 10 years, right? So when you are seeing the modern drug discovery process, if you are seeing, that is the based on your target. That is, first you identify the target, then you identify the drug. Target means that is your receptor, right? So first you identify the targets. To the target, you can, after identifying, you will identify the lead compound which will fit into the target. Then you can optimize the lead and you get the final compound, right? So generally, I told you like around 6 to 10 years. Okay, so when you are seeing your computer-aided drug design, so they are, if you know the target, suppose if you are having the 3D QSR technique, that is the docking studies. Okay, so what in the docking studies it will do, that is you can take the receptor molecule, and after taking the receptor molecule, you are studying the interaction of your receptor molecule with the your ligand molecule. Okay, unless it is marketed, we can call it as a ligand molecule, not a drug molecule, right? So the term that is we are using ligand is the your nuke molecule that you are going to develop as a drug. So you can take the target receptor and you can take the ligand molecule. The interaction between the ligand and receptor, that you can study on a computer screen, right? So that is the computer aided drug design. So if the interaction between your receptor and the ligand molecule is better in the computer screen, out of 1,000 molecules or lack of molecule, if you are screening, among that, suppose one molecule it is having a very good interaction with the, you can select some top 100 molecules, 10,000 molecule. If you are seeing screening for its interaction with the receptor on a computer screen, the molecule which is having a very good affinity or very good binding, that is top 100 molecule you can select, and that molecule you can synthesize it. Okay, so this will reduce the time required for your, what you can, for synthesis, time required for your screening, okay, and time required for discovery of the new drugs. Okay, so that is the advantage of your computer aided drug design. Rapidly you can identify the molecule for a particular disorder, right? That in reduce the cost involved in your optimization of lead compound, because here what we are seeing, we are on a computer screen, we are studying the interaction between your drug and the receptor. On the computer screen, if the molecule is showing very good interaction with the receptor, it is assumed that the, in the reality also it will set a very good interaction. Okay, so number of drugs that has been developed by the computer aided drug design, and there is a possibility in the computer aided drug design also, that is you are rejecting, suppose 10,000 compound, 100 you are selecting, remaining around 9,900 you are rejecting. Some maybe there is a possibility the rejected compounds also may be having a better activity. So there is advantage and disadvantage in each and every technique, but this technique also one of the technique widely used in the field of medicinal chemistry, and it has given number of promising molecule, starting from, if you are taking the nalidixic acid, that is the norfloxacin from the nalidixic acid, that is the first discovery of your drug molecule in the field of your QSAR, right? So when you are seeing the identification of, or what is the importance of your, what you can say that is of your this particular computer aided drug design technique, that is the identification of lead compound, optimization of lead compound, and evaluation of winning candidate. Right, you will identify the lead compound, that also by means of your uh, docking studies. You can optimize the lead compound, that you can, in docking study you will study the interaction between the drug, your ligand molecule and the receptor on a computer screen. Then you will look into the interaction between the ligand and receptor. Then you can make suitable modification. Mean what all the modification you can make, you can see that is the, what is the modification that has been required, right? And what all the groups they are, what you can say that is the affect the binding of the drug with the receptor. You can remove groups in the molecule, and you can add some more groups so that you can get a better interaction. That is the process of your lead optimization. Then finally you will identify the winning candidate. Okay, so that is the candidate evaluation. This is the main objectives of your computer aided identification of lead compound, optimization of lead compound, then identification of your final hit molecule. Okay, so these are all the three different objectives of your any computer aided drug design technique. It may be a 2D QSAR technique or 3D QSAR technique, right? And why we are going for this QSAR technique, right? When you are seeing that is, I am saying that is one of the good technique for discovery of the lead compounds or density of the compounds. What is the advantage? When you are seeing what is the advantage of this particular technique, for example, if you are seeing this molecule, right? So this is the indole molecule, right? It is the indole molecule, right? So around 19 indole compounds, right? So this is the 19 indole compounds that has been synthesized, and we have determined the analgesic activity, right? So when you are seeing the 19 compounds you have synthesized and 19 compounds you have determined the analgesic activity. So one side you are having the compound 1, 2, like that you are having the 19 compounds, and the other side you are having the their biological activity, right? Other side you are having the biological analgesic activity. So what you will do, that is you are having the one side you are having the 19 compounds, other side you are having the biological activities, right? Each structure molecule, it have number of properties, right? Suppose if you are taking a one molecule, it may have the lipophilic property, it may have the electronic property, it may have a steric property. That is single molecule. Suppose if you are seeing the software of your Dragon online software, it will calculate 1600 descriptors for a single molecule within a fraction of seconds. Mean the each molecule have the thousands of properties, right? So what is the objective of your QSAR technique? That is by it will identify among the 1000 properties which properties are important for biological activity. Because generally all the properties are, they are not important for biological activity, especially one particular property that is important for biological activity. Maybe a single factor or combination of 2 or 3 factors. So that they are important for biological activity. So if you say a technique, you will do the linear regression to identify which factor is important. For example, this analgesic activity of indole derivatives, lipophilic parameter log P, it is important for biological activity. So this is the equation, right? R is equal to 0.958 log P minus 2.471, right? So this is based on the analgesic activity of 19 indole derivatives, right? When you are seeing the 19 indole derivatives, and this is the biological activity value, and this is the QSAR equation. R is equal to 0.9, that is correlation coefficient. It should be always closer to 1, right? And this is the R squared value, right? This is the squaring of R squared value. Then Q squared value, that is obtained by Lehman out method, it should be more than 0.5 to qualify the QSAR model. This is the Fisher value, right? That is Fisher statistic value, and this is the standard deviation. So this equation, you can see this is based on 19 compounds. Suppose 20th compound, right? The same indole derivative. Suppose if I want to synthesize another 100 compounds, for this I no need to go for the synthesis of another 100 compounds. What I will do, compound number 20, compound number 21, 22, 23. I will draw the structure on a computer screen, and I will find out their log p values, right? After finding out the log p values, I will substitute in this equation, right? So you can see log p of your compound number 20, it is 4.27. I am substituting it over here, right? So when I am substituting, I will get what is the expected biological activity value of your newer derivative. So this newer derivative, sorry, it is having a better activity than the existing one, then I will go for synthesize it. Or if it is not having the less activity than the existing one, then I will reject it. Okay, so that is the you can say that is your importance of your QSAR technique, where you can say without a need to synthesize the molecule, you can find out the biological activity of the particular molecule. So that is the advantage of what you can say that is of your this particular QSAR technique, right? Right. So when you are seeing in the 60s and 70s, if you are seeing this computer-aided drug design technique or your QSAR technique, it depends on the lead optimization. You are having a lead compound and you want to improve the activity of the lead compound, right? So in this period, there is the molecule that has been developed. This is the norfloxacin that has been developed by means of your QSAR technique, that is from your nalidixic acid. Losartan 82 antagonist, that also developed, you can say that is of your molecular lead compound from the patent literature and the QSAR studies. And 8 is, it is focused on your molecular modeling, that is from shifting lead optimization to lead identification, right? So it has been lead optimization to lead identification, right? So when we are seeing this lead optimization to lead identification, example of the drug that has been developed during this period, that is the eprosartan. It is the 82 receptor antagonist. That is by studying the interaction of the eprosartan at the target site, they have developed this particular drug. Okay, and 90s it has been, that is you can say this structure based drug design. That is again the focus is on your lead identification. So during 90s, dorozolamide and zolmitriptan that has been developed by means of your computer-aided drug design technique, right? Again in the 2000 onwards, the focus that has been turned on your what you can say the docking and 3D QSAR studies. Nowadays, mostly you can see the computer-aided drug design. You are using the docking studies or 3D QSAR study, that is comparative molecular analysis, COMFA studies, or if you are seeing the 2D QSAR technique, even nowadays also we are seeing the people are using the what you can say that is what is called your uh, hands analysis. Okay, so our main focus on this today's lecture, we will discuss mainly two techniques, right? That is the we will discuss on the how to go for hands analysis, right? Then how to what is the COMFA analysis, and slightly we will see what regarding the molecular docking. In the practical session, we will discuss the what you can say that is the hands analysis in detail, how you can perform by using the software for hands analysis, right? Right. So basically, when you are saying the what is the difference between your SAR and QSAR? SAR, you know, that is your structure activity relationship. How the biological activity changes when you are making a small change in your molecular structure. Instead of that, how, if you are putting the how much, that is how much change in biological activity. Instead of how the biological activity, if you are putting how much change in biological activity, that is called as your quantitative structure activity relationship, right? Right. So when you are seeing the QSAR methods, right? So this is the QSAR model. what you can say that is of your different QSAR models, where you are first you will prepare the structures. Okay. When you see in the QSAR method, the first one that we will prepare the structures. We will put the structures. After putting the structures, we will go for your calculation of. We will optimize the structures. That is, we will minimize the energy of the structure. That is the second step. After minimizing the energy of the, we will go for calculation of molecular descriptors. Okay. First, what we will do, we will go for your. First, we'll draw the structures. Then after that, we'll go for energy minimization. This energy minimization is what you can say that is of your another important step, because you want to, when you want to go for QSAR studies, so you have to minimize the energy of the molecule. The reason is that you want the bring the molecule back to its lowest energy conformation, because you know minimum energy conformation is the most stable conformation. We have seen that the conformation of cyclohexane, right? In the conformation of cyclohexane, we will see that is the chair form. It is the most stable because it is having the lowest energy. So here also the molecules, whatever the molecules you are using for QSR studies, it should be a stable molecule. What is a stable molecule? The molecule with the minimum energy. So always the structures, after drawing the structures in the computer screen, then you have to minimize the energy of the molecule, right? Then after minimizing the energy, then you will go for calculation of molecular descriptors. After calculating the molecular descriptors, you will go for analysis. That you will go for, you can say this is the molecule and this is the descriptor and this is the biological activity. You will try to find out which property is important for biological activity. The purpose of your QSAR model development to identify among the different factors which parameter is important for biological activity, that you will determine. Okay, so that is the, what you can say that is of your importance of your QSAR studies, so that you will find it out. Once you find out this particular, what you can say that is of your uh, which parameter is important for biological activity, you will see that is the what is, will go for QSAR model building. After QSAR model building, then you can say that is of your go for your interpretation, validation, and prediction. So when you are seeing what are the different molecular descriptors, okay, so when you are going for the QSAR studies, you will go for that is your molecular descriptors. So in the molecular descriptors, right? So when you in the QSAR studies, you are having basically two things you need to concentrate. One is the, you must know what is the molecular descriptors, and molecular descriptors, that is your for the properties, right? That is the independent variable which are used to calculate the property of interest, that is the dependent variable. Okay, so this is the what you can say and what you mean by molecular descriptor, or you can call it as the parameters. Okay, so you can say that is of your different names it has been called, that is molecular descriptors or parameter. They are the independent variables which are used to calculate the dependent variable, right? So dependent variable may be a biological activity, or you may get that is another type of your mm, field of your QSAR studies, that is the QSPR, quantitative structure pharmacokinetic relationship, right? So these are all your different terms. That's why we are given the dependent variable. I told you calculate the property of interest. You can determine the melting point, boiling point, toxicity, right? Or absorption parameters, distribution parameters, excretion parameters, right? So clearance, everything you can calculate for your different structures based on your QSAR model development, right? So basically, when you are seeing the different properties, we are having the lipophilic parameters, electronic, steric, and topological parameter. And these are all the common parameter that has been used. But when you are seeing the classification of parameter, that may be n number, right? I am not going into detail regarding the how to calculate the lipophilicity parameter, how to calculate the electronic parameter. That will be a few more theoretical part. And now we are having the no need to have idea that is how to calculate, because you are having number of softwares, open softwares, freely available software available to calculate the parameters. That is the reason when you are seeing the QSAR studies in 90s, or you can say there is not much software has been developed. The QSAR study, it has to the used to run at a very slow rate. Nowadays you are number of QSAR study you can perform it rapidly. The reason is that you are having the number of software that are available, right? So when you are this, what is the purpose of this QSAR study? I told you that is this what we are discussing regarding the Hans analysis. We are going to discuss where you are having the two parameters are required. Number one, that is the molecular descriptor, that is that are derived from your structure of the molecule, and another one is the biological activity. These two you will correlate by means of a statistical technique. The best technique to correlation, that is the linear regression, linear multiple linear regression, right? So these are the some of the common lipophilic parameters like log P, right? Partition coefficient and substance coefficient, distribution coefficient, chromatographic parameter, right? Solubility parameter, etc. Right? When you are saying the partition coefficient, mean that is the octanol water partition coefficient, right? This also you can determine by means of your Shake-Flash method, or you can see that is by means of your software. The importance of your log P, you know, might be knowing that is your drug has to get for before reaching the systemic circulation, it will pass through the different biological membranes. So you should have an optimal log P so that it can cross the aqueous as well as your oily barrier, right? And these are all the some electronic parameters, right? Like your Hammett constant, ionization constant, energy of highest active molecule, energy of lowest unoccupied molecular orbital, etc. Right? And these are some steric parameter like paracar, molar refractivity, steric substituent constant. Right? There may be number of parameters. Okay, I told you this is the molecular connectivity index, that is first order, second order, right? Zero order molecular connectivity index. Okay, zero order, first order, second order. This is the zero order valence molecular connectivity index, first order valence molecular connectivity index. Like that, you are having number of parameters. Okay, so all these parameters you can see that is of your it can be calculated very easily with your software, right? So when you are seeing the selection of descriptors for QSAR study, okay, so basically I told you when you are going for a QSAR study, the two things that has to be very important, right? So what is the purpose of your QSAR study? That one side you are having the biological activity, and another side you are having the what you can say that is of your molecular descriptors. So what is your objective? You want to combine the find the correlation between these two, right? What is the correlation mean? What you mean by correlation? The better correlation, you can see, you might have seen the number of graphs, right? Even if you are doing the analysis, that is your UV spectroscopy also, you are finding out what is the correlation. So you will get the, you will write the straight line equation, and you will get equation that is the R is equal to 0.999. Okay, so that you can say it is the good correlation. Correlation means anything which is closer to 1, that is called as your good correlation. So in the QSAR studies also, you will try to correlate the structure with biological activity. So how you will correlate the structure with biological activity? You will find out the molecular descriptors from structure, and you will find out the biological activity by using the some limited molecules. So now you will correlate, try to correlate between these two molecular descriptors and biological activity. And the purpose of your QSRT to identify which molecular descriptor or combination of molecular descriptors they are important for biological activity. So for doing this, There are different methods. That is one forward selection, backward elimination, and stepwise search. Right. So when you are seeing the what I mean by forward selection, mean you can see forward selection. Basically, we will say that is of your what we'll do. We will try to develop the equation with single parameter. You can see now we have developed the equation with 0.704. It is a single parameter with one descriptor with the log p, right? So when we are developing with the log p, right, we have seen that is of your it is not showing the better biological activity because R value is around 0.704. So we are adding the second parameter log p and with molecular weight. So it is giving the value that is 0.762. And third, we are adding the log p molecular weight. Again, we are saying the another parameter dipole, three parameters. So it is become 0.810. And this is again four parameters we have added. We atomic index MIA. So that will give you around 834. Right. So here you can see that is here what we can do, that is correlation mean we want to increase the correlation, or we want to increase the R value closer to 1. So you try to develop the equation with one parameter, and if you are not getting R value closer to 1, then you can add the second parameter. Again, after adding second parameter, if you are not getting the R value closer to 1, add the third one, then add the fourth one. So like that you keep on adding the parameter in the forward direction, so that you can see that is of your R value, you will get the closer to 1. Again, the addition also depends on the rule of thumb. The rule of thumb mean what mean, if you are having a 5 compound data set, you can develop the equation with only one parameter. If it is 10 compounds, you can go for 2 parameters. That is for a 5 fingers, you are having one thumb finger. So the same principle is here. That is rule of thumb. If you are having 5 parameters, you can go for doing the what you can say that is of your. You can go for that is of your with one parameter, and if it is 10 compounds, you can go for 2. Like that, in multiples of 5, you can keep on adding the one parameter for developing the linear regression equation. Our ultimate aim is to get R value closer to 1. Okay, so this is the forward selection because we are moving in the forward direction. One parameter, then add the second and third, fourth, fifth, till you are getting R value closer to 1. Right? Then second one, that is the backward elimination, that is just opposite to your forward selection. Suppose if you are having a 10 parameters, you are determined for one particular group of compounds for their finding in the biological activities. First, you can develop equation with all the 10 compounds, right? So automatically you will get R value closer to 1. Then from the 10 compounds, 10 descriptors, combine all the 10 descriptors and develop equation. Again, with the 10 descriptors, if you are not getting the R value closer to 1, then what you can do, you can go for giving the equation, but from the 10 descriptors, you can remove one descriptors and develop the equation with 9 descriptors, remaining 9 descriptors. And again, you can see R value, there is no change in R value. It means the descriptor what you have removed, that is not important for biological activity. Again, if it is 9 compounds, then you can keep on removing the reverse direction, right? You can keep on removing the reverse direction. That is how much compound you can remove. You keep on remove it in this is the backward elimination. You are keep on removing the backward side, and you will see whether you are getting
sorry to interrupt. Actually, your voice is
change in the R value. When you are getting change in the R value, means that compound is very important for biological. Sorry, that descriptor is important for biological activity. So you cannot remove that parameters. It means that parameter you must keep, so that is required for biological activity. So like that you can keep on removing in the backward direction. So this process you can repeat it until you are getting a set of descriptors by which if you are removing
the R value drop down, means those all the set of parameters, they are important for biological activity. Okay, so this is the backward elimination. That is the, you can develop the equation with all the descriptors and keep on remove the descriptors until if you are removing a particular descriptor, it affects the correlation value. So this is the, what you can say, this is the backward elimination. And whereas in forward, you will keep on adding the descriptors in the forward direction, so that you can say that is the, there is no change in your variables is obtained. Then another one, that is the stepwise regression. In the stepwise regression, it is different from your both the, what you can say, that is of your forward selection and backward elimination. Because when you are seeing the forward selection and backward elimination in both the process, right? So both in the forward selection and backward elimination, you can say it is a blindly. You cannot not going for a systemic way. You are saying that you can go for equation with one descriptor and go for second and third. It will take more time. Suppose you assume that you are having the 1,000 descriptors, all right? So it will take much time to say that is which parameter. Again, this is not giving you in a single click. It is not giving you that is which parameter is important for biological activity. So this method, you can say that is the, what you can say, it is not what you can say that is a good method for your when you are going for the QSAR analysis. So better method will be, that is the, what you can say, that is the stepwise regression, right? When you are seeing the stepwise regression, this is the stepwise regression. When you are seeing the stepwise regression method, where you are developing a correlation matrix, right? When you are seeing the stepwise regression, you are doing the correlation matrix. In the correlation matrix, you can see that is your we are constructing this correlation matrix. When you are seeing this correlation matrix, you can see we are having a number of descriptors, right? And we are see, this is the log of antifungal activity. With the log of antifungal activity, it has been developed, right? With the log of antifungal activity, and what is the correlation of different molecular descriptors. So among these different molecular descriptors, in a single click, it will show which parameter is important to biological activity, because you can see which is closer to 1, that is the 0.79. So molecular mass is important for biological activity, right? So you can directly develop the QSAR equation with the molecular mass, right? So that is the importance of your stepwise regression. So you can construct the correlation matrix, so it will show you directly that is the which parameter is important for biological activity. And again, the R molecular mass, it is 0.79. The R value is not closer to 1, so you can add the second and third parameter. So that will also decided by means of this stepwise this correlation matrix. You can see molecular mass, and what is the correlation of molecular mass with the biological activity, and what is its correlation with the other parameters, you can see. All right. So if you want to add the second parameter with the molecular mass, the second parameter, it should not have a very good correlation with the molecular mass. Suppose you can see this curve index, the red one, it is 0.91. Again, the red ones are highly correlated with the molecular mass. So you cannot combine these parameters in the multiple linear regression or for developing the QSAR equation. Again, the yellow ones also goodly correlated. This also you cannot combine them. So you can, if you want to combine with molecular mass, mean you can see which is we are having very low correlation. That is the kappa index. You can see this is 0.344. So molecular mass can be combined with kappa index. So you will get a better equation, that you will get R value more than 0.79. It may go for 0.83 or 84. Again, if you are adding that parameter, so this process you have to repeat till you are getting the closer to 1. So you can see, you can, this is the stepwise. You construct the correlation matrix, identify the highly correlated parameter, then construct the QSAR model with this particular parameter. That is the, what you can say, that with the molecular mass
Again, this is not closer to 1, then you can add the second parameter to the equation based on the collinearity principle. What is the collinearity principle? It should not have any very good interrelation between them. Correlation or interrelation, autocorrelation, all are the same thing. In molecular mass can be combined with, you can say that is the Cair index, or you can say Cair X0 or log P. You can combine, right? But you cannot combine with the Cair V1 or Cair V2 because they are highly correlated, right? Similarly, molecular mass and molecular refractivity also you cannot combine, right? So this stepwise regression, it will help you to develop the QSAR equation at a very faster rate. So these are all your different QSAR methods. One is the Hans analysis, free Wilson analysis, fusion Venn analysis, Topliss analysis, cluster analysis, Dirichlet simplex method, and comparative molecular field analysis and docking studies. So I will discuss only two methods. One is Hans analysis, then I'll show some light on your comparative molecular field and docking studies in your today's presentation, right? So Hans analysis, it has been developed in 1960, where Hans has identified the nonlinear or parabolic dependence of your biological activity with log P, and he has given this particular equation. Then so 60 somewhere they are using only the QSAR, mean they are correlated log P. And later on, Hans and Fuchs, that they told that is not the log P or lipophilicity is important for biological activity. There are number of other properties of the molecule. They are also important for biological activity. So they have included the parameter descriptors other than the partitioning. So this is the equation. So this is how you can say that is your how your Hans equation occurs, right? So you can see this is the how the you are representing the Hans equation. Okay, so this is left side you are having the biological activity, right? Right side there is the regression coefficient, and this is the standard error. So you will find equations like this: 2.34 plus or minus in bracket. You will mention the error. Then you develop the what is the log P values. What may be the parameters, right? This sigma and what is the parameter and this one, and you will be, it will be represented like the left side biological activity, right side your QSAR model, and always the models will be supported with your number of compounds, how for using how many number of samples you are using it, because it is a statistical technique. If you are having the more number of samples, then you can say you will get a more reliability, right? Then you should have the minimum standard deviation, right? Then R value should be closer to 1. Then F value, it should be more than the table value. When you are seeing in the pharmacology, experimental pharmacology, you might have seen in the end they is given the Fisher value. You will say that is the what is the Fisher value from that Fisher table. Suppose if it is uh, N17, suppose you can see this is the number of parameters 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 parameters and 12. So when you are seeing the in the Fisher table in the fourth point in the horizontally, you can see what is the value for 12. So that will give you the table value. Okay, suppose table value is 7.5 and your calculated value is 10.9, then your equation is the significant one. The F calculated should be more than the F table value, and this Q squared value, that is done by your leave one out technique. Generally we can say that is your, it is the cross validated R squared. Q squared value, otherwise it is called as your cross validated R square. It should be closer to 0.1, because the reason you know that is why it is closer to correlation close to 0.1. You can see this as better correlation, right? So when you are seeing this correlation, it should be closer to 0.1 that you need, that is of your this cross squared R value or Q squared. Generally you can calculate it by leave one out method. Leave one out method mean how they are performing the leave one method. Suppose if it is 17 compounds, the first 10 they will leave compound number 1 out. They will develop the equation by using the remaining 16, and they will find out the activity of left out compound. In the second time, they will include first compound, remove the second compound. So like that 17 times it will be repeated. So that R squared, average R squared, that is called as your Q square. It should be more than 0.5 for to qualify the QSR equation to be a valid one. This is how the Hans equation appears. When you are saying the minimum requirement for a valid QSR study, the number of compounds should be several times than the parameters used, right? So that is, they are saying that is minimum 4 parameter. It is nowadays, it is not minimum 4, minimum 25 to 30 compounds are required to develop a valid QSAR study, because QSAR equation you are developing by means of your, what you can say, that is QSAR equation developed by means of your statistical technique, that is the linear regression. So when you are saying the linear regression, when you are having the more number of samples, right, more number of your samples, then you can see that it is more reliability. Suppose if you are taking one survey, if you are taking a survey by using the 100 people, and if you are using the survey, taking the survey using the 1000 people, the people where the with 1000 people, the survey is the more reliable one. Like that, it is also being a statistical technique. The number of samples are more, you can say this more reliability will be the QSAR results. Then R should be around 0.9 for your in vitro data. Suppose when you are going for QSA study, the biological activity value, it may be two types. Either one is the in vitro and another one is the in vivo. Suppose if you are going for in vitro QSAR development, you must get the R value closer to 1. If it is of in vivo, even if you are getting the R value around 0.7 or 0.8, then that is considered as a very good R value, because in vivo there is a biological variation. Suppose in vivo means that we are carrying out in animals, right? In the biological system, person to person, the biological variation is there. Person to person, the effect of the drug will be different. Okay, so this one, or you can say that is of your R value should be 0.7 or 0.8, that is acceptable. But if it is going for in vitro, then we are providing the optimum conditions. So you should get R value closer to 0.9, and minimum standard deviation and minimum standard error, and the F calculated should be more than F table value, like what we have seen. Then highest Q squared value, that is Q squared value. Generally, you want the Q squared more than 0.5 to say a QSAR model is a valid one. Okay, so this is the minimum requirement for your any QSAR equations. So now we will see what is the, how we can go for the Hans analysis. What are the different steps involved in your Hans analysis? When you are seeing the what are the different steps involved in your Hans analysis, right? Number one, that is the first you will go for sketch the molecule and energy minimize the molecule. Okay, this is the first step of your Hans analysis. What you can do, you can draw the sketching, mean that is you will draw the structure of the molecule on a computer screen and minimize the energy. I told you what is the importance of minimization of energy, because you want the molecule to be in a stable state. What I mean by stable state, that is you want to make the molecule in the minimum energy state, that is the most stable state. So first you draw the structure in a computer screen, then you go for minimize the energy. This energy minimized molecule, that is the most stable molecule that you can use it for further QSAR studies. So first and foremost step is the sketching and energy minimization of the molecule. Once you have minimized the energy of the molecule, then you can calculate the molecular descriptors for your energy minimized molecule. You can take the molecule and use the use the software and calculate their molecular descriptors. And next point, that is you can convert the biological units into logarithmic units. Again, the conversion of your biological unit into logarithmic units, it is very important, because mostly all your QSAR descriptors, they are log based. The reason is that log based you will get the linear values. So that is the reason they are giving the log based. So you convert the biological activity into also into logarithmic units. Again, in the conversion of your biological activity value into logarithmic units, you must know whether we want to convert them into a inverse log or we want to take the direct log. Okay, so that you have to depend, that is the depending on the nature of relationship, right? So when you are going for the biological activity, for example, you assume that you are carrying out the antimicrobial activity. Suppose in the antimicrobial activity, you will determine the minimum inhibitory concentration. Suppose if you are having a two compounds, compound A, that is the having the MIC of 0.5, compound B, it is having the MIC of 0.2. So which one will be the important, compound A or compound B, which is most active? But when you are seeing this compound A, the MIC is 5 microgram. Compound B, the MIC is what you can say, that is of your 2 microgram. So the most active will be compound B in this case, because A is the 5 microgram per ml, right? And B will be 2 microgram. So in this case, we can say the compound B is the most active because it is having a MIC, that is minimum inhibitory concentration. That at a very low concentration, it is inhibiting the growth of microorganism. Now here you can see the relationship. The concentration is low, the constant compound constant activity concentration is low, then you can say biological activity is high. Compound B is the most active. So this is the inverse relationship between the concentration and biological activity. Concentration is low, mean biological activity will be more. In this case, you can take the inverse log of your biological activity. There are some cases where you have to take the direct log. Suppose when you are going for anti-inflammatory activity or analgesic activity, there you will find out percentage analgesia or percentage anti-inflammatory activity. Suppose again you can see the example compound A, it is having the 80% inhibition. Okay, compound A is having the 80% inhibition. Compound B, it is, you can see it is 90% inhibition. So out of these two, if I am asking you which is the most important compound or which is having high activity, then you can say compound B is highly active, because here the inhibition is more, then you can say it is more active. So here the relationship is direct. More inhibition, more percentage. More percentage means more inhibition. So in that case, you can take the direct log. Whereas in the previous case, MIC concentration is less, the activity will be more. So there is an inverse relationship. So you can take the inverse log. So this always you have to keep when you are going for QSI studies. Depending on the data, you have to take the simple direct log or you have to go for inverse log, because this is most important one to affect your QSAR studies. Then after that, once you have first step after sketching and energy minimization, then you are going for molecular descriptor, then you will convert the biological into logarithmic units. Then next step, you try to correlate between the molecular descriptors and biological units. So you will get the develop the QSAR equation by linear regression or multiple linear regression, LR or MLR. What you mean by linear regression? If you are developing the equation with single parameter, then it is linear regression. If you are developing the equation with more than one parameter, then it is a multiple linear regression. Again, you can, once if you are developing the equation, then you go for cross validation of equation, that is the calculation of Q squared and comparison of observed and predicted activity. Observed activity means what you have determined experimentally, and predicted how you are the predicted activity based on the QSAR study. Ideally speaking, there should not be any difference between observed and predicted, but still you will get, since it is a, you never get correlation as one, so you will get the closer activity of your predicted will be close to your observed. So you will find out the residual activity, right? What residual activity is, what is the difference between the observed and predicted activity? If your model is a good model, you should have the minimum residual activity. Then again, you will kind of find out the systemic activity error. Systemic error means you will find out the observed activity, that is before carrying out the QSAR, you are carrying out the biological activity. So that is the observed activity. Then predicted activity, like we have seen in the case of indole, the 28th compound, we are predicting the activity by using the QSAR equation. That is the predicted activity. The difference between these two, that is called as your residual. This residual, it should not be always positive or it should not be always negative. So residual should be mixture of positive and negative. Then you can say the model is a good model. That is called as your checking for the presence of your systemic error. That is your residual should be both the sides of the zero. So that is called as your presence of systemic error. Okay, so let us see one example so that you can, before going to the example, we will see the what are the other facts to be considered when you are going for a Hans model. Okay, so first one, that is the rule of thumb that I already told you, that is for your, when you are going for QSAR equation, you will try to develop the QSAR equation with one molecular descriptor. With one molecular descriptor, if you are not able to get the R value closer to 1, then you will go for adding the second parameter, right? When you want to add the second parameter, that depends on the rule of thumb. You can see what are the number of compounds you have selected for QSAR studies. If you are selecting the, if your compound is 10 compounds, so then you can maximum go for QSAR model by using the two different descriptors, because rule of thumb says for 5 compound data set you can use one descriptor. So 10 mean 2, 15 mean 3, 20 mean 4. You should not go beyond this limit, then your QSAR model is said to be a not a valid one. Then selection of what you can say, that is of your training and test set, right? So training and test set mean, training set mean that is the set that has been used to develop the QSAR model. Suppose you are developing the QSAR equation by using the 20 compounds, then you can see that you can take another 5 compounds. Suppose you have developed the indole derivatives and you have synthesized the indole derivatives, 20 indole derivatives, and determine their biological activity, and you have developed the QSAR equation. So this equation you can apply on the another 5 indole derivatives which is not included in your QSAR study. That is called as your testing. Then another one, cross validated R squared or Q squared, it should be more than 0.5. Like I told you, this is by either done by leave one method or leave one out, one group out method. Mean leave one out mean you will remove one compound at a time. Mean 20 compounds mean you can in the first round remove compound number 1, develop the case with remaining 19. Second round keep include compound number 1, remove compound number 2, and third round include compound remove compound number 3, and fourth round remove compound number 5. Like that you can keep on removing one compound alpha. In group of compounds you can select a group of compounds 1 to 4 remove in first run, second run that is your 5 to 8, like that you can remove. Then another one, multicollinearity, that I told you when you are going for your when you want to go for multiple linear regression, that when you want to combine the two different parameters, they should not have a very good correlation between them. Okay, so that is called as your, if they are having very good correlation between them, then you can say there is a existence of your multicollinearity or collinearity. So you cannot combine them in a QSAR equation. And next one, that is the outlier reduction and its removal. Outlier reduction and its removal, sometimes when you are performing the QSAR studies, right, you will get, there is a possibility that sometimes you will see this systemic error or your outliers are present. Mean outliers are, what you mean outlier? Sometimes when you perform the QSAR studies, you won't get the regression results, right? That may be reason that may be due to the presence of outlier. Means some unwanted compound that is present. For example, in this case, you can see we have developed the QSAR equation, right, with the 17 compounds, right? With the 17 compounds, you can see the R value is 0. So this is not a valid equation. So after from 17, we have removed 3 compounds, right? So these three compounds, after removing the three compounds, we are getting R value. You can see it is 0.942. Mean out of 17, we have removed 3. Mean that is these three compounds what we have removed, they are called as your outlier compounds because their presence affected the regression or affected the correlation. So these compounds you have to identify and remove it. So how you will remove the your outliers, mean that you will see that is your develop the equation with the minimum correlated parameter and compare, find out the predicted activity and find the difference between observed and predicted values. Then you will get the residual values. So compound which is showing very high residual value, that compound they are called as your outliers, that you can remove it so that you can get a better QSAR equation, right? So this is another one. Then detection of systemic error, I told you that is your, you should get the what you can say, that is your R value should be on the residual value should be on the both the sides of 0. That is called as your deduction of your systemic error, right? So this is what I have told you, right? So next we will see what is the, I'll see the one example of Hans analysis and slightly will go for your COMFA and docking, then we will go for the practical session, right? So when you are seeing this compound, you can see somewhere you can say that is a simple esters we have synthesized, right? Then we have synthesized the hydroxides, synthesized your benzylidene hydroxides, right? So this compound we have synthesized and we have this is their physiochemical properties and this is their biological activity. Okay, so this is their MIC against Staph aureus, right? This is the MIC against Bacillus subtilis E. coli and Candida albicans and Aspergillus niger. This is the multi-target model and this is the one-target model, right? Multi-target model, especially when you are going for antimicrobial compounds, you have to develop the multi-target model because whatever the antibiotic you are developing, mostly you want the antibiotic to be active against number of organisms, except in case of some specific microorganism. For example, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, you want the drug to be active against only Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Otherwise, in common antibiotic, it required to have the broad spectrum activity, right? So you can see this synthesize the compound, we determine the biological activity. This by means of your tube dilution method. And this is, so when you are seeing the steps involved in your Hans analysis, first you can sketch the molecule and energy minimize the molecule. Then you can convert the biologic unit to logarithmic unit that we have did, right? Then calculate the molecular descriptors, right? We have calculated the molecular descriptors. Then you can see, then we have constructed the correlation matrix that is as per your stepwise procedure, right? You can see among this is the correlation matrix for your antimicrobial antibacterial activity of the benzylidene hydroxide against the Staph aureus and what is their correlation with the different molecular descriptors. When you are seeing this particular what you can say, that is of your table, you can see only which is the most active one. When you are seeing, that is the total energy. You can see the TE, the green one, right? This TE, it is the most active, or you can say very good correlation. You can see this is the against Staph aureus. What is the correlation with Staph aureus? The Staph aureus with Staph aureus, always you will get 1, right? One parameter with the same parameter is also correlation 1 because there is no difference in their value. And Staph aureus is cosmic energy 0.059, molar refractivity 0.705, second order valence connectivity 0.824, third order molecular connectivity is 0.8086, like that you can see. And you can see in case of your total energy, it is showing the 0.830. So it indicates the QSAR equation you must develop by means of using the total energy. You can So this QSR equation for step RS, if we are seeing, we are developing with the total energy, that is by means of your straight line equation y equal to mx plus c. So it shows that is the total energy. You can see there is the R value 0.830, right? Q square it is 0.660, mean that is more than 0.5, so it is a valid QSAR equation. So this equation, right, it gives you number of information for your designing of your drug molecule. So what it indicates, right? You can see antimicrobial activity of benzalidine hydrazide against step RES. It is minus 0.00017. It indicates the it is inversely correlated to your total energy, that is your Staphylococcus aureus activity. Benzalidine hydrazines, their activity against Staphylococcus aureus is inversely correlated with the total energy. It means what it indicates, if the compound is having a very high total energy, the compound will be having a very low activity against Staph aureus. If it is having a very low total energy, it will be having a very high activity against total energy. So what it indicates, so if we are, this equation is based on 20 benzalidine hydrazines. So if we are going for another 100 benzalidine hydrazine, if we are plan to synthesize, what you can do, don't go for the synthesis, for the another 100 molecules, you can identify the substituents which will decrease the total energy of the system. So when you are adding the new substituent, it should decrease the total energy. So it means if you are decreasing the total energy of the system, the biological will be more. So let us check it with the observed results. You can see. So this is the total energy, compound number 3 and 4, right? They are having the low total energy, 3, 4 and 14, 20 can low total energy. This is the very high total energy values, compound 15, because it is in the energy values are in the negative side, that is minus 1 is more bigger than your minus 2. So this is the low compound, that is you can see, note the compound number 3, 4, and you can assume that compound number 15, right? So as per the statement, what it says, the equation, that is the total energy is negatively correlated. If it is negatively correlated, it means compound number 15, which is having a high total energy value, it should have the low biological activity value. Let us check in the table of biological activity value. You can see compound number 15, the activity is 1.02. Compound number 34, you can see it is having a very good biological activity value, 1.32 and 1.55. Even the compound number 20, you can see it is 1.46. So this is the 1.58 is a very high activity, 1.46 is a very high activity, 1.02 it is a very low activity, right? It indicates, so this is the importance of your carrying out the QSAR studies or QSAR model development. So this QSAR model, it will give you two different information. That is it will give you, that is which parameter is important for biological activity value, then what are the modification you can do. See, from the equation we come to know total energy is negatively correlated with biological activity value. So it indicates if you are lowering the total energy of the system, so you will get a better biologically active molecule. Okay, so that is the one thing, that is where it will give you the guidance how to proceed further, or which molecule you can synthesize further. Okay, so this is the equations that has been developed against Bacillus subtilis and E. coli, like that, based on the correlation, right? This is your different equation. You can see based on the correlation, they have developed the different molecule. The Bacillus subtilis, you can see it is X3. EC also it is E. coli X3. So again the equation also you can see with the X3 and X3, the equation has been developed, right? Once you develop the equations, then next one you have to, so till now we have seen The compounds has been synthesized. We have determined their biological activity. We have calculated the molecular descriptors. Then we have developed the QSAR model. Now you have to check the cross-validate the or your validity of your QSAR model. So what you can do first, you can, this is the observed value that is determined experimentally, and this is the predicted value. So predicted value for SA, it what it indicates. So in this equation, minus 0.017 into total energy value for compound 1, right? And that will give you the predicted value for compound 1. Similarly, substitute the value of total energy of compound 2 in the equation, you will get the compound 2. Like that, you have calculated for all the 20 compounds. So this is called the predicted activity or calculated activity by means of your QSAR equation. And this is the residual. You can see the residual is very low except compound number 4. So if you are removing the compound number 4, it is an outlier, right? If you remove the compound number 4, then you may get a R value from 0.8, it may jump to 0.9, okay, 92 or 93, that is the possibility. Similarly, it has been determined for the other compounds also or other organisms also, right? So when you are seeing this method, it is a one target model, right? So you can see this is the comparison observed and predicted. So you can see the point should be closer to your regression line. So then you can say this is a valid model. So again, the comparison of observed and so the residual values, the residual you can see on the positive sides also and the negative sides also. Then you can say there is no systemic error, right? And another one you can see, that is, I told you, that is your QSAR studies, not only used for your prediction of your biological activity, it can be used for prediction of your some other properties also, right? So one of the study we can predicted the basic hydrolytic constant of your benzoglycamide esters, right? So this is the one example. And then another one of your non-linear regression. Always when we are deciding upon the log P value, that is the log P is important for biological activity or not, that you can see determined by means of your nonlinear regression. Okay, so nonlinear regression means that is your concept of random walk. When you are administering your any molecule, right? So when you are administering the molecule has to cross through your biological membrane. So there won't be any direct linear concentration between the linear relation between the time and the concentration, because your drug will be moved like this. So this is called as your random walk. It won't move like this. The reason is that you are having a different biological membrane. So whenever you are going for your, especially to determine the role of lipophilic parameter log P, you have to perform both linear and non-linear regression, right? So if both the cases, if your log P is not important, then you can reject the log P. Okay, so this is the case we have seen when we have seen the AT2 antagonistic activity. This is especially when you are going for your in vivo QSAR models. Okay. AT2 angiotensin 2 receptor antagonistic activity we have seen for your pyrimidine derivative, I think so. Pyridine's derivatives, right? So it is showing the in the linear regression, it has shown the R value is 0.3. The same data when we applied the non-linear regression, that is the parabolic relation, you can see it has become the insignificant one to into significant. So always you have to perform both linear and non-linear regression in respect of your log P. Then you can decide whether it is important for biological activity or not, right? So this is the scope and limitations of your Hans analysis, because Hans analysis, it will help you to correlate the activities with the physicochemical property. You can correlate the biological activity with your structural properties outside predictions of that you can predict the activity of the new compound. Suppose if you want to synthesize the new compound, or you are having a QSAR model, new compound, you draw on a computer screen, minimize the energy and find out the required descriptor value and substitute in the QSAR equation. So you will get the activity value of the new compound. Okay, and this is the outside predictions are possible, right? So when you are saying the uh, limitations, there are number of limitations because you should have the parameter value for each and every compound. This is not possible in case of your complexes, metal complexes. And large number of compounds is required because basically it is a statistical technique and depends on the biological results. If the biological results are become error, then your prediction will become the also error. Then correlation of parameter, that is the another one, because you cannot combine two different highly correlated parameters. And another one, group should be selected in the, there should be a random selection in case of training and test set, right? It is basically lead optimization technique, not a lead discovery technique. Whereas your 3D QSAR technique, they are the lead discovery technique. Consider only 2D structure, right? Then risk of too far outside. But that is, you may predict the compound as the most active by means of QSAR, and reality it may fail, right? So these are all the limitations. When you are looking into the slide, you will find that is your limitations are more and the uh, advantages are very less. Still, this hands analysis is one of the widely used method because compared to other method, that is the free Wilson analysis or Topliss analysis, they are the better method compared. So it is even nowadays also it is widely used in the QSAR studies. And another one, that is the, when we'll show some light on the 3D QSAR studies. 3D QSAR studies where we will either it may be based on your receptor or pharmacophore. When you are seeing what you mean by pharmacophore, the pharmacophore, it is the group of atoms that is required for what you can say, that is of your uh, binding with a particular receptor, right? The structural requirement that are essential for binding with the receptor, that is called as your we can say it is a pharmacophore, right? So you can see this is the pharmacophore, right? So this is the binding receptor site, and you can see the molecule binding will be of your hydrogen bonding. The reason is that you are having the amino group and what you can say this your and carboxylic acid group in your receptors, because they are made up of amino acid NH2 group and COOH group. So mostly you will get the hydrogen bonding with the receptor site, right? So this is the binding site of your receptor. You can see it will require one oxygen for binding, and here you require one, since it is the oxygen, you require one hydrogen for binding, since it is a hydrogen, there is oxygen for binding. So this is the pharmacophore for binding with this particular receptor. So you can build up the molecules. You can see this in, there are four differently structured molecule, but you can see they have the both the molecule we are having the essential group required for binding. Okay, so this is called as your pharmacophore. Pharmacophore is the groups which are essential for binding, right? So when you are seeing this pharmacophore, right? In pharmacophore in docking, you can see that is your, you should see what all the hydrogen bond features that is required, hydrogen bond acceptor feature that is required, positive and negatively charged group, and customary feature, anything if you require that you have to see, right? When you are seeing the docking studies, I told you that it is a structure based drug design technique where you can see that is your drug is bind, you are studying the interaction of your drug with the receptor site. Okay, so we will, in the docking study, we will determine two things. One is you will predict the pose of the molecule, and another one is you will predict the binding affinity. A pose of the molecule mean that is how the molecule is interacting with the receptor, and binding affinity, how strong is the affinity, that is called as your docking score, right? See, when we are seeing the post prediction, you can see this is the binding of your molecule. In the docking study, we will compare, this is the molecule, it is interacting with the receptor. You can see this molecule, see it is, this is the drug molecule interacting with the aspartate molecule of your receptor, arginine molecule of your receptor, arginine 74, it have the interaction, then tyrosine 165, it is having the interaction. Mean your drug molecule is receptor with the this tyrosine 165. 165 mean when you are saying the protein structure, it is made up of amino acids. So number of amino acids are joined together. And in the point number 165 means it indicates that is the tyrosine placed at the 165th amino acid, right? So the molecule is binding with the arginine 74 and tyrosine 165. So this is the pose of the molecule at the particular receptor site. So you can see what is the importance of this studying the pose of the molecule. Now you can see this molecule having a one oxygen group over here, and here it is not having the interaction. Mainly the interaction will be of your hydrogen bonding. Suppose if you want to have the hydrogen bonding, the reason is why it is not having the hydrogen bonding. So here near to the carbonyl group, there may be another carbonyl group of your receptor. So this is the molecular carbonyl group and this is the carbonyl group of the receptor. Since both are negative, there is no binding. So if you want to have the binding, you must have the hydrogen group in the molecule. So what you can do, if you want to improve the binding, you can remove this group, carbonyl group, and you can place one amino group. So in the amino hydrogen, it will have the binding with the receptor. So you can improve the binding. Okay, you can see post prediction. We can see which parts of the molecule are important for binding. Okay, this is important for binding, and this is important for binding, and this is important for binding, which can suggest the changes to improve the ability. You can see this. You can change the oxygen into a hydrogen, then you will have a binding. Or you can say avoid the changes that will clash with the protein. You can see that it is some of the this two. It is not you are avoiding the clashes between the protein because you are removing the molecule, so removing the particular group. Okay, so this is the advantages of your docking study, right? So when you are seeing the how to see the performing the docking studies, we will say select the appropriate ligands, select the appropriate conformation of receptor, select the appropriate conformation of ligands, and combine the ligand receptor and evaluate this combination. Okay, you can select the suitable ligands, right? Conformation of receptors, right? How you can select the ligands, that is mostly your molecules are selected based on the Lipinski rule of 5. In the Lipinski rule of 5, what we will see basically. So I have to wind up very fastly. Right, Lipinski rule of 5. You can see based on this 5 rule, that is, you should have few hydrogen bond donors or futures, have molecular weight less than 500, log P less than 5. Right. So you can select the molecule from the available databases, right? Or you can in-house molecule. You can synthesize it, right? The once you see that when you are selecting the molecule, you should not have the too many hetero atoms. Okay, that also you can keep in mind, and you can select the molecules. So once you select the ligand molecules, and you can see in the ligand molecule, you can see what are the hydrogen bond donor features available, what is the hydrogen bond acceptor feature available, right? This is the donor feature, right? That is your OH, NH, CH, and actually they are the donor group. COH is not a donor because it is getting, you can say, ionized to COA. So this hydrogen won't be available for binding, right? Similarly, you can see that is of your hydrogen bond acceptor feature, that is nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur. They are called as the with available one lone pair of electron, that is called as the donor group. And here you cannot take the oxygen atom in the ring molecule, especially in case of your furan, right? And oxazole, because they are involved in the delocalization, they won't be available for hydrogen bonding. Okay, so you cannot count them as hydrogen bond acceptor feature, right? Then you can say positive and negative feature. I told you that is your COO, carboxylic acid. It is a negative feature because it will get ionized to COO minus. This amino group become positive because it will accept the proton, so you will get the nitrogen have the lone pair of electron, so it will become NS3. So that you have to see, and you have to see some customized feature. Customized feature means some specific requirement for a particular uh, receptor, right? Suppose if we are seeing the carbonic anhydrase inhibitor, right? The sulfonamide, the structure must have the sulfonamide group or sulfamate group because essential for binding, right? So this is the custom. Otherwise, generally you have to look for the hydrogen bond donor and acceptor features in your molecule, right? Then again you prepare the receptors, right? Receptor, you can say that is of your, you can download the receptor from the PDB website. So that is the open source. This is the what you can say RSAB. Okay, so this is the website where you can number of proteins, they are available freely. You can download the proteins from the protein data bank and you can use it for the docking studies, right? So after after preparing the ligands and after preparing your protein, then you can go study the interaction between uh, receptor uh, and your ligand, that is the docking studies. You can see that is of your, that is your docking, that is comprised of two major for which separate algorithms are used: sample algorithm, right? Then scoring function, right? Scoring functions, you can say that is your how the interaction is there. So you can see that is before going for your docking study, first you can prepare the receptor, right? Selection of active site water molecule, mean that is your at the active site, the binding site, if there is any water molecule especially present in the reality. So that also you have to keep in consideration. If you are removing the water molecules, then your docking result will become what you can say that is, you will, if you are always, you see if there is active site water molecule is present, that you have to keep and you are do have to perform the docking. Otherwise you will get the false docking results. In the docking study, you will, the compound will become very activity. When we are checking in reality, it may not have the activity because you are not considered the active site water molecule. And also you have to see the side chain flexibility, because your receptor side chain, your receptor molecule will have number of flexible side chains. Amino acids are freely rotatable. That also you have to keep in your mind. And you can say, and you have to do the consensus docking. Consensus docking means that is your scoring function. We have to combine the two to three core scoring function. In docking, you are having number of scoring functions, number of scoring modules. You have to combine two or three modules. So that is the, and you have to use the three modules, that will give you the consensus docking score. That combined score, that will be better than the using a single scoring function. And also you have to encrypt the pharmacophoric constraints within the virtual screen. That is when you are screening the ligand molecules for selection of docking studies. First you have to identify what is the basic structures that is required for your docking studies, or what is the pharmacophoric requirements for your molecule that you can apply. So you can get the molecule, final molecules, limited molecule with the required pharmacophoric features, that you can use it for docking study. I told you that is of your active site water molecule. You can see this is the docking studies without the what you can say that is your native without water docking, right? You can see the score will become the standard docking. You can see RMS is 0.47, that is without the water. But when in the presence of water docking study, you can see it is 2.99. Here it is acceptable limit and this is not acceptable limit. So always before you can say going for a docking study, first you can see if there is any active site molecule is present, then you can perform the docking with the active site molecule, then you may get a final lead combo. Okay, so the one thing, and there are different docking procedure. There is manual docking, automatic docking, rigid docking, and flexible docking, right? So when you are seeing the rigid docking and flexible docking, mean that is of your uh, in the manual docking. Okay, you first you will define the binding group of the ligand and binding site of the receptor, then identify the ideal bonding distance between each potential interaction. You will see what is the difference between the distance between the atoms of your molecule that is required for binding, right? Then you can, after defining, you start the docking procedure. I mean that is you will try to study the interaction between both, and you will get the what you can see that is your final molecule which is having a best fit that you can identify, right? Then automatic, that you can see the ligand and macromolecule as a what you can say that is of your both ligand and as a rigid bodies, right? Mostly when you are seeing the docking study, there are basically two type of docking studies. One is the rigid docking and flexible docking. Okay, so what do you mean by rigid docking and flexible docking? What do you mean by flexibility? Because you know your molecule as well as your receptor, right? So they are not fixed one, right? They are having what you can say that is carbon-carbon single bond. When a molecule is having a carbon-carbon single bond, it will have the different conformation because they are freely rotatable. So when you are performing the docking studies, right, your molecule is bending in the which conformation? That is very important. So mostly in the docking studies, we used to say that is we used to use only the keep the receptor as a rigid body. Mostly always they will keep the receptor as a rigid body and they will make the molecules as a flexible. Because if we are keeping the receptor as a flexible, and it will take too much time to complete the docking study. So mostly they will keep the receptor as a rigid body and they will allow the molecule to be a flexible, different conformation of molecules they will dock. Okay, so this is also called a flexible docking, but in real sense, flexible docking mean the molecule also should be flexible. The receptor also you should keep it as a flexible one, but generally due to your time constraint, mostly we will say only we will keep the target as a rigid body, only the molecule as a flexible one, right? So there is another technique that is where in the docking studies you will come to know the compound is having a very good binding, mean very good docking score that you can select for synthesis, right? And last technique that is your comparative molecular field analysis. This also a one of the 3D QSAR technique, right? Where in the outline of QSAR, first we will find out the what is the pharmacophore, right? After getting the pharmacophore, you will generate one a grid box that is considered as a receptor, and you can place the grid box on pharmacophore inside the grid box. Then you will place your molecule over the pharmacophore, superpose your molecule over the pharmacophore, and you will find out the what is the similarity index, the molecule which is having similarity with the pharmacophore, that molecule you can select it for your comparative molecular uh, field analysis, right? So you can see first you can say set of molecule with the same kind of receptor that you can select it, then call the acclimation, then you can define the pharmacophore. After that you can see superpose the molecule by using similarity index and the highly similarity index that you can select it, right? Then you can place the molecule in a grid box and you can take one probe atom. Probe atom, it may be a positive electropositive atom or electronegative atom or carbon atom. So you can place the probe atom. Suppose I am taking the carbon as a probe atom. I will creep the carbon over this point and over this point. I will place the atom at the different parts of the molecule, probe atom, and I will see the what is the electrostatic field value and what is the steric field value. Here we can see when we are seeing the interaction of your drug with the receptor, basically you can say that is the two are very important. That is the electronic nature of the molecule and the steric nature. So here they will consider both the steric and electronic. See, then they will what is the electrostatic field value at the different points and what is the electrostatic value at the steric value at different points. Then you are having biological activity that you can develop equation by means of your partial least square analysis. That equation that you can use for prediction of the new molecule, right? You can see this is the method. Okay, you can see this is your grid and you are placing the pharmacophore, right? We have placed the pharmacophore. Then we can say that if we will place your molecule, superpose the molecule over the pharmacophore, then we will take one probe atom, and the probe atom you can, it may be a carbon atom or positively charged negatively charged atom. Then you will place the probe atom on the different point of the molecule and what is the different sites. You will find out what is the electrostatic field value and what is the steric field value. Okay, so that you will, what is the electrostatic field value and steric value at the different grid points. Okay, so then you will develop the partial equivalence and you will get the QSAR equation. This you can use it for prediction of the new molecule, right? So always you were going for studies, you will along with the graphical representation, you will get the model. It will say what are all the electropositive regions, right? That is favorable for activity where the electronegative groups, they will favor the activity. You can see the blue counter indicated regions where electropositive groups are increased activity, and yellow counter you can say that indicated where steric bulk is not favorable, right? Or which is where steric. So this will give you the results, right? So this is the different techniques that has been used, right? And if you have any queries, please ask. Okay, so I have covered only very few techniques because it will take more time. And this field, I think so, I can say that if whenever you are keep on working in this field, then you will get a better knowledge regarding the how to work with the different softwares. Okay, so this I have made, that is based on the experience where we are having in this particular field for over a period of some 10 to 15 years also, I think so. From my PhD from 2003 I am working on this. So you have any queries, please, you are welcome.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir, we have two questions in the chat box. One is from Dr. Shilpi Chauhan.
Yes,
She
ma'am.
wants to know, can you name some freely available QSAR softwares for 3D and 4D QSAR?
Madam, 3D QSAR, there is one software that is the Argus Lab that is
Okay.
available,
Okay.
and number of softwares, other softwares also, they are giving you the trial version,
Right.
right, for 1 month, right?
Right.
So when you are giving for the trial version for 1 month, what you can do, that is once if you are acquainted with the using for your trial version, suppose generally they will when they are giving the trial version, no, they will get the IP address also, right? When you are installing it, you will get the IP address also. If you are using the different systems, right, different IPs and under different username, so you can get for more period. Suppose I use with one username, I am getting with the other faculty name, then another IP address, I can select, get the software for another 1 month. So like that you can work.
Right.
So 1 month the period is there, but otherwise, madam, the softwares are little bit costly.
Okay.
Even if you are going for Schrodinger, they will charge you around for specific molecules around 5 to 6 lakhs per year.
Oh, okay.
But when you are saying the industrial scale, they are investing it, right?
Yeah.
Then they can be you for the screening, instead of they are going for your synthesis and other person synthesis, investing on synthesis or testing, then it will take, this technique will become comparatively cheaper for them.
Right. So thank you, sir. And one question is from Sumita Singh, ma'am. She wants to
Okay.
know, is there any software for simultaneous docking of multiple ligands?
Madam, simultaneous diagram, multiple ligands, madam, there is a one Exadoc is there. Okay,
Okay.
but multiple ligands, it is not available, madam. Generally, if you are going for multiple ligands, no, it is very difficult,
Right.
right?
Right,
Yeah,
sir. One
generally,
last,
or if you are
yes.
going Schrodinger, they are possible, but it is not free software.
Right, sir.
है ना?
Right. One last question is from Mr. Pankaj Sonkar. He wants to
And
know, can you kindly differentiate between molecular docking studies and QSAR studies?
madam, when you are going for molecular docking studies, so where we are studying the interaction of your, mostly your docking study indicates the interaction of your drug with the receptor,
Okay.
right? When we are
Right.
going for the QSAR studies, it indicates the 2D QSAR also, like what we have seen the hands analysis, what we have discussed.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Where there is no, we are not studying the between the receptor, just we are calculating the property of the molecules, and we are having the biological activity, and we are applying statistical technique to combine both these.
Right,
You
sir.
know?
Right, sir.
So
So I think there are no more questions here. I hope, Mr. Pankaj, your query has been resolved. Sir, I will just share my screen. So thank you so much, sir. It was really a very informative session, especially for our research scholars and faculty members who are working on drug designing and QSAR. It must be a very helpful session for them, and they can apply it also. Thank you so
Okay,
much, sir, once again. And the small token of gratitude from our side,
okay, okay.
kindly
Thank
accept
you.
the certificate. Yeah, thank you
Okay,
so much, sir. Thanks a
okay.
lot.